Sarah's smile fooled me, but not my daughter. She trashed Emily's memories, faked her texts. I uncovered her scheme to erase my girl. She wasn't done. And then she tried to take Lucas. I'm a single dad, raising 2 kids in the quiet town of Maplewood, Ohio. My name's David, and 5 years ago, my world shattered when my wife, Anna, died in a car crash. I was left with Emily, my 12-year-old daughter, and Lucas, my 7-year-old son. Those years were rough. Emily, always so bright, turned inward, her laughter replaced by silence. Lucas, too young to grasp it all, clung to me, confused. I worked long hours, trying to hold our little family together, but the house felt empty, like a shell of what it once was. I missed Anna's warmth, her way of making everything okay. Then I met Sarah at a community fundraiser in Cincinnati. She was a breath of fresh air, with a wide smile and a gentle voice that seemed to soothe everyone around her. She'd bring cookies to my kids, decorate our home with cozy touches, and listen patiently when I rambled about my day. I thought she was our second chance. After a year of dating, we got married in a small ceremony at Maplewood's town hall. I was over the moon, believing we'd found a miracle. Emily was cautious but polite, warming up slowly. Lucas, always eager for affection, adored Sarah's playful side. For the first time in years, I felt hope. Our home in Maplewood started to feel alive again, with Sarah's laughter filling the rooms. I thought we were building something new, something whole. I didn't see the cracks forming, not yet. I was too caught up in the idea of a fresh start, too grateful for someone who seemed to care. Looking back, I should have paid closer attention to Emily's quiet glances, to the way Lucas sometimes hesitated before hugging Sarah, but I didn't. I thought we were healing. I thought we were safe. The first few months with Sarah in our Maplewood home felt like a dream. She'd make pancakes on Sundays, humming as she flipped them, and Lucas would giggle, syrup on his chin. Emily, though, was quieter, her smiles forced. I chalked it up to her being a teenager, adjusting to a new stepmom. But then I started noticing things. At dinner one night, Sarah looked at Emily's plate, her voice sweet but pointed. "Maybe skip the bread, Em. You've been talking about fitting into those jeans for the school dance." Emily froze, her fork hovering. I frowned, confused, but Sarah's smile made it seem harmless. Emily pushed her plate away, her face blank. I should have said something, but I didn't. I told myself it was just a suggestion, not a big deal. Then there was the time Emily brought home a math award from Maplewood Middle School. She was beaming, proud. Sarah glanced at it, said, "That's nice, sweetie," and moved on to fuss over Lucas's finger painting from kindergarten. She even bought him a new art set to celebrate. Emily's smile faded, and she slipped upstairs. I thought she was being dramatic, maybe jealous of her little brother. I didn't see the pattern. Sarah's comments grew sharper, always cloaked in concern. "Emily, you're slouching again. It's not flattering," she'd say. Or, "Are you sure you need that second helping? You've got that recital coming up." Each time, Emily shrank a little more, her spark dimming. Lucas, though, got endless praise. When he scored a goal in soccer, Sarah cheered louder than anyone at the Maplewood field, baking him a cake afterward. I thought it was sweet, how she bonded with him. But Emily started eating less, her eyes downcast at meals. I'd catch her staring out the window, lost in thought. Once, I asked if she was okay. She nodded, barely speaking. I let it go, convincing myself it was just teenage moodiness. Sarah was so good at making everything seem normal, her voice always calm, her explanations reasonable. I was working long hours at the hardware store in Cincinnati, exhausted. I trusted her. I didn't see how she was slowly, carefully pulling Emily apart, piece by piece, while I stood by, blind to it all. Things got worse, and I was too slow to catch on. Sarah's subtle digs at Emily turned into something darker, more deliberate. One afternoon, I came home from the hardware store in Cincinnati to find Emily's room stripped bare. Her shelves, once filled with her mom's old keepsake scarves, handwritten notes, a locket Anna gave her, were empty. Sarah was folding laundry, calm as ever. "Those old things were dusty, David. They were cluttering her space," she said, like it was no big deal. Emily was at school, but when she got home, she stood in her doorway, eyes wide, hands trembling. "Where's Mom's stuff?" she whispered. I asked Sarah, who shrugged. "I donated what wasn't salvageable. It smelled musty." Emily's face crumpled, but she didn't cry. She just nodded and shut her door. Later, I found her on the back porch, clutching a single photo of Anna she'd hidden under her bed. Her shoulders shook, but she wouldn't talk. I didn't push. I should have. Sarah started checking Emily's phone, too. She'd scroll through her texts, delete apps, saying, "It's for her safety, David. You know how teens are." Emily complained it wasn't fair Lucas could play games on his tablet all day. No questions asked. Sarah's response, "Boys are different. They don't get into trouble online like girls do." I tried talking to Emily alone, but Sarah always appeared, changing the subject with a laugh or a story about her day. It was so smooth, so practiced, I didn't question it. Emily's grades started slipping at Maplewood Middle School. Her friends stopped coming over. Sarah told me Emily was acting out, even told a neighbor Emily was hanging with a bad crowd. I heard it from a coworker at the store who asked if Emily was okay. I brushed it off, embarrassed, thinking it was just rumors. But Emily wasn't herself. She barely ate, her eyes always tired, her voice flat. Sarah suggested therapy, saying, "She's struggling, David. Maybe she needs professional help." I agreed, thinking it might help Emily adjust. In our first session at a Cincinnati clinic, Sarah cried, telling the therapist how hard she tried to connect with Emily, how Emily pushed her away. Emily just stared at her lap, silent. Afterward, Sarah whispered to me, "See how she shuts me out? I'm trying so hard." I nodded, feeling guilty for doubting her. I told Emily to give Sarah a chance. Looking back, I was blind, letting Sarah's words cloud my judgment while my daughter faded right in front of me. The night everything unraveled, I found Emily on her bedroom floor in our Maplewood home, gasping for air, her face pale, hands shaking. My heart stopped. I knelt beside her, calling her name, but she could barely speak. Sarah rushed in, her voice calm but urgent. "She needs help, David. We should get her evaluated." Emily's eyes widened, pleading, "Don't send me away, Dad, please." Her voice broke, raw with fear. Sarah pulled out her phone, showing me screenshots of texts Emily talking about feeling lost, mentioning pills. "She's not okay," Sarah said, her tone steady, convincing. Emily screamed, "Those are fake. She's lying." But Sarah's calm certainty made me doubt. My stomach churned. I didn't want to believe Emily was in trouble, but the evidence was there. Against my gut, I agreed to let a Cincinnati hospital evaluate her. Emily sobbed as we drove, begging me to listen. I told myself it was for her safety. After they took her in, the house felt hollow. I couldn't sleep, haunted by Emily's exhausted eyes, her thinning frame. Something felt wrong, but I couldn't place it. Around 2 a.m., restless, I grabbed Sarah's tablet to check a grocery list. Her journal app was open. I clicked without thinking. Page after page, my blood ran cold. Sarah had written everything her plan to make Emily seem unstable, to delete her messages, to spread rumors at school. She wrote about fixing our family by removing Emily, calling her a problem that reminded me too much of Anna. She'd faked those screenshots, even called other parents to paint Emily as troubled. It was calculated, cold, like a script for destroying my daughter. I felt sick, my hands trembling as I read. When I confronted Sarah, she froze, then tears spilled out. "You don't understand, David. I'm tired of living in Anna's shadow. Emily never accepted me." Her voice cracked, but her eyes were hard. I asked how she could hurt a child like that. She had no answer. My voice stayed low, but my words were final. "Pack your things. Get out of my house." Sarah laughed, bitter. "You can't just throw me out. I'm your wife. Who'll believe you over me?" I didn't respond. I ran upstairs to check on Lucas, terrified of what she might have done while I was distracted. He was safe, sleeping soundly. I knew then we had to leave. I woke Lucas gently, his small face confused in the dim light of our Maplewood home. "We're going for a surprise breakfast, buddy," I said, forcing a smile. Emily grabbed her hoodie and phone, her eyes still red from crying at the hospital. Sarah followed us downstairs, her voice sharp. "Where are you going, David? You can't just take them." I ignored her, ushering the kids to the car. As we pulled out, I saw her in the doorway, her face twisted with rage. My hands gripped the wheel tight. I drove straight to my sister Karen's house in Dayton, an hour away. It was barely dawn when we arrived. Karen took one look at my face and let us in, no questions asked. Once Lucas was settled with cartoons and cereal, I showed Karen the printouts of Sarah's journal. Her jaw tightened as she read, her voice low. "This is sick, David. She's unhinged." I nodded, guilt crashing over me. How had I let this happen under my roof? Karen offered her guest room and couch. "Stay as long as you need," she said. I called my boss at the Cincinnati hardware store, explaining a family emergency. Then I contacted a lawyer, Rachel, recommended by a friend who'd been through a messy divorce. She met me that morning in her Dayton office. I handed her the journal printouts, my voice shaking as I recounted everything: Sarah's comments, Emily's panic attack, the fake screenshots. Rachel's face was grim. "This is emotional abuse, David. We need to file for an emergency custody order and a restraining order. Don't go back to that house alone. She could be unpredictable." I canceled Emily's hospital evaluation and scheduled her with a new therapist in Dayton, someone Rachel trusted. Back at Karen's, I sat with Emily, who looked small, fragile. "Are we really not going back?" she asked, her voice barely a whisper. "No, sweetheart. I found out what Sarah's been doing. She's not honest with us." Emily's eyes softened, relief mixing with pain. "She hates me, Dad. Always has." I hugged her, apologizing for not seeing it sooner, for letting Sarah into our lives. Lucas, confused, asked why Sarah wasn't with us. I kept it simple. "She did some unkind things, buddy. We need time apart." That night, Sarah's texts flooded my phone. "Where are my kids? You're making a mistake. Those journal entries aren't what you think." I didn't reply, forwarding everything to Rachel. I checked the locks twice, my heart racing. We were safe for now, but I knew this wasn't over. 3 days after we fled to Karen's house in Dayton, I sat in a courtroom, my stomach in knots. Sarah stood across from me, dressed neatly, her face a mask of concern. Her lawyer painted her as a devoted stepmom, blindsided by my paranoia. They claimed the journal was just therapeutic writing, a way for Sarah to process her role in our family. It was so convincing, I felt a flicker of doubt. Was I overreacting? Then Emily spoke to the judge in private chambers. I don't know what she said, but when they returned, the judge's eyes were hard, fixed on Sarah. He granted me temporary full custody of Emily and Lucas, along with a restraining order barring Sarah from contacting us or coming near Karen's house, our Maplewood home, or the kids' schools. "The court takes allegations of psychological abuse seriously," he said, his voice firm. "The children's safety comes first." Sarah's composure cracked cracked, just for a second, her lips tightening. I felt a rush of relief, but it was short-lived. Outside the courtroom, Sarah brushed past me, whispering, "This isn't over, David. They always believe the kids at first." Her words sent a chill down my spine. Back at Karen's, I checked our joint bank account, heart sinking when I saw Sarah had transferred $10,000 to her personal account the day we left. I called the bank, but they said she had every right to do it. Another mistake I'd made, trusting her with our finances. I forwarded Rachel the texts Sarah sent, including one that read, "That money's for dealing with your troubled daughter." Rachel added it to our evidence file. Emily's school counselor called, saying Sarah had contacted them, claiming a misunderstanding, and that Emily would return home soon. I explained Sarah was no longer authorized to make decisions for Emily, promising legal documents. I did the same for Lucas's school in Dayton, ensuring Sarah couldn't pick him up. The judge's ruling gave us breathing room, but Sarah's whispered threat lingered. I kept the kids close, checking my phone constantly for updates from Rachel. Emily started opening up in therapy, her new counselor, Dr. Ellis, documenting the emotional toll of Sarah's actions. Lucas asked fewer questions about Sarah, but I could see the confusion in his eyes. We were safe for now, but I knew Sarah wasn't done. Her calm facade in court hid something darker, and I braced myself for what might come next. The weeks after the court ruling were tense, like waiting for a storm to hit. We stayed at Karen's house in Dayton, trying to rebuild some normalcy. Emily clung to her phone, checking for messages, her eyes darting nervously. Lucas sensed the shift, asking, "Why can't we go home, Dad?" I kept it vague, saying we needed time away. Then Sarah's letter arrived at my P.O. box, written on prison stationery. My lawyer, Rachel, told me not to open it, so I dropped it at her office. When I saw it, my hands shook. Sarah's words were neat, chilling. "Dear family, I've had time to think. The courts won't let me see you, but they can't keep me away forever. I'll find you, David. Lucas misses me. Emily will understand one day. Sleep well while you can." It wasn't just a letter, it was a threat. Rachel filed it with the prosecutor but warned me, "It's vague enough to dodge legal trouble. Stay vigilant." Then it got worse. One morning, Lucas's school in Dayton called. A woman claiming to be his aunt tried to sign him out. She matched Sarah's description. My heart raced as I sped to the school, calling Officer Daniels, who'd handled our case. "There was a clerical error," he said, voice tight. "Sarah was released on bond yesterday. We're working to revoke it." The school's security cameras caught her, agitated, arguing with staff. I picked up Lucas, who looked confused but safe. "Is school canceled, Dad?" he asked. I hugged him, forcing a smile. "Just a family day, buddy." I grabbed Emily from her high school, her face pale as I explained in hushed tones. We booked a hotel in Columbus under Karen's name, paying cash to avoid a trail. Sarah turned herself in that afternoon, claiming she was framed, but the footage was clear. Rachel pushed for harsher charges, attempted kidnapping, restraining order violations. Emily barely slept, checking the hotel room's locks. I felt like a failure, my kids living in fear because I'd let Sarah into our lives. Her obsession wasn't fading, it was growing, and I knew we'd never feel safe until she was locked away for good. Sarah's final hearing changed everything. The security footage from Lucas's school, her threatening letter, and a search of her devices revealed plans to take Lucas out of Ohio. She faced attempted kidnapping charges and pleaded guilty, receiving 7 years in prison with no contact allowed. The judge also terminated her parental rights, a rare win. I left the Dayton courtroom lighter, knowing we had time to heal. We moved back to our Maplewood apartment, determined to reclaim our home. Emily joined a competitive dance team, her confidence slowly returning. She choreographed a routine for Anna's memorial, dancing under the Ohio stars as Lucas and I watched, tears in our eyes. Lucas made new friends, his laughter filling our home again. On Anna's death anniversary, we visited her grave, leaving flowers and a drawing from Lucas. Emily linked her arm in mine, smiling. "Sarah couldn't erase Mom," she said. I nodded, squeezing her hand. "Never. We weren't perfect, nightmares still woke Emily, and I checked locks too often, but we were stronger. Sarah had tried to break us, but Anna's memory held us together. We were healing, day by day, our family whole again."